And I see you're starting with like a graphic, right? Like a slate? Okay.
Exploitation of the American working class. Melissa, hello. Talk to me. So, could you tell people what we're doing here?
So, hi, I'm Melissa Byrne, and I do work with We the 45 Million. It is an organization that is working to do this thing called canceling student loan debt. And we're here because once a month we come to the White House by the entrance where the staff actually works and where they come in and out. So they actually see the people that have student loan debt and hear us. The members of the band have student loan debt. We've been told they hear us all the way through the building. Most people, when they come to the White House to protest, they go for the iconic view. We go for the working view because we're working people.
So what are the response you're getting from staffers?
They will give us the thumbs up, like this, little. They're always happy. I don't think we've seen any cranky staffers because, we're just peppy and, everything's really sad in the world right now. So, idea is that we can organize with joy. Because canceling student loan debt will be very joyful for the administration.
Well, I love that you say that because we could win this. You could win this. How does it feel to be so close?
Terrifying. I want to throw up 24/7. I just want to get the win and then take a nap.
Fair.
45 million people are impacted. This isn't a theoretical battle in your dorm room where you're having a debate. One thing that's been really demoralizing is watching rich people debate whether or not people who grew up poor and working class have the right to dignity. And I think what's really important is that we have a right to dignity. We have a right to get an education. We have a right to get an education and then be able to care for our families and build lives. And we shouldn't always be buried and drowning under all of this debt.
Well, and you've told me something that I think is really interesting. Oh, do you want to talk to him? No? Bye. So there's this false narrative in the mainstream media that this is actually an issue for the privileged. We know that's not true. 40% of people with student loan debt didn't even finish college. And you once said something that I thought was great. If this were an issue for rich people, it would have been solved already.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, rich people rich kids get their parents to write them a check for college. They don't pay any tax on the gift their parents are giving them of an education. So we do have free college. We have free college for the children of the wealthy.
Yeah, and also, this combined with wages stagnating and the cost of living getting higher, it's really difficult for me to understand how people don't see this as a universal issue.
Yeah, it's because a lot of people just grew up wealthy, their friends are wealthy, and they don't even think the people that are poor go to college. They think the people that are poor, do other things with their lives.
That's a really good point. So, who are our other friends here?
Do you want to say hi to Daniela?
Yes. Hello. Hi. My name's Jocelyn. We're the act.tv. So glad to meet you, Daniela.
Yeah, hi. My name's Daniela. Nice to meet you all.
What brings you out here today, other than, the obvious?
Yeah, well, I have over $70,000 worth of student debt. Canceling student debt would not just help me, it would help my family, it would help my parents who also co-signed my loans. I also know that student debt is one of the things creating the racial wealth gap. We can cancel student debt, we get one step closer to closing the racial wealth gap.
Thank you for saying that, because as I was just talking to Melissa about, there's this really toxic narrative that this is this is going to benefit all these wealthy Ivy League graduates. If I hear that one more time, I'm going to lose my mind. No, this benefits black women, who are the most educated and most indebted group in America. This benefits communities of color who are told, get a degree, and then are paying exorbitant debt for it.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm a Latina, and we also know that women of color, Latina women, hold a lot of student debt. Time and time again, that if we want to move up, we need a college degree. It is not fair that I have to set aside my dreams of owning a home, of starting a family, just so that I have to pay all of my student debt. And even during the student debt payment pause, I've still been paying all my private student loans, not to mention, everything I have in public student loans.
Well, and that's a really interesting point, too. These predatory private loans affect communities of color more. And it's like we're talking about forgiving federal student loans. There's a bunch of student debt that people are still going to be saddled with. It's wild.
Exactly.
So you have a lot of student debt. What was your journey like as an activist to bring you here? Was there just the urgency of dealing with this problem?
Yeah, well, it's honestly a lot of my work. I work at the Alliance for Youth Action, and we're a national network of youth-led organizations who are doing work across the country. And young people care about student debt. We know from polls, the most recent polls that have come out said voters care about student debt cancellation. So.
Yeah, and it's better for everyone. I was rewatching some interviews with Melissa about this for today. It's I want to live in the smartest country in the world. I want to live in a country filled with doctors and scientists and therapists. We have a shortage of all these professions right now because it's $250,000 to become a doctor.
Right, exactly. And that's the thing that I hate when people say. They're like, oh, well, I paid off my debt, you should pay off yours. And it's let's dream bigger. Why can't we dream of a future where student debt isn't a barrier for anyone,
And also, when did you pay off your debt is always my next question.
Right.
Did you pay off the costs of education we're looking at now, or did you pay it off in like the 80s when it was like a nickel to get a college degree?
Yeah, I know. And people are like, oh yeah, I got a summer job and I paid off my student loans. It's like, good luck trying to pay off your student loans with a summer job now. I mean, are you kidding me?
Now it's like $3,000 for like one class at a private university.
Oh, I actually just saw this statistic today that college in the past 20 years has gone up over 179%. Like, that's wild. And you know what hasn't gone up that much? Wages.
Exactly.
So...
Well, and another thing, you know, Melissa and I have discussed, like, when you're talking about class dynamics, like, upper middle class people not only make more money, they're given these tax shelters, the 529 plans that, like, working class people technically can access, but you know, if you're making $30,000 a year, you're not putting $10K aside for that.
Right, exactly. And, like, financial planning is impossible, even, you know, when you are in my income bracket.
Yeah. Well, what would you want people to know, both people that are allies and people that aren't?
Yeah, I want folks to know that we can push for canceling all student debt. 10K is not enough, and like we can dream bigger. We can dream beyond $50K, $1,000 of student debt, and that every person who has debt deserves to have it canceled. Student debt is immoral. We should not be forced to pay to get free education. We believe in free education at the lower levels. Why don't we have it at higher education? So I think this is a cause for everyone.
Yeah, and it's weird that the country which accepts as a universal right the ability to attend kindergarten, like, is mind-boggled at the ability to attend college.
I know. I'm like, we've already accepted that education should be a universal right. Like, why not take it bigger and bolder and do higher education as well?
I have no idea. So, have you guys talked to any staffers?
We've definitely seen some folks coming in and walking by. Melissa, she's here all the time, and she recognizes people, so it's actually cool to see her be like, oh, hey, and check out staffers. So I think being here consistently, they know that, like, we're not going to be quiet about this. Like, we're going to keep the drumbeat going. And I do think we have a lot of support. Yeah. We do.
Well, that's amazing. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, so I am actually going to grab my bag really quickly. Just hold on. let's go over here. Oh, we're good? Hello. What's your name?
My name's Joanna.
Thank you for being here. Although I guess I don't need to thank you. You're here for yourself. So tell me about what brings you out in front of the executive office building on this rainy day.
Well, I myself am a college student. I myself will be having student loan debt, of course. Unless there's some sort of relief, I really think that this sort of movement is super important, especially for people my age and people in my demographics. I just think that there's no downside to this sort of movement, and so I just think it's incredibly important to have this student loan debt relief cancellation in order to sustain that we have a future for ourselves, basically.
Well, and I was just speaking with Daniela. It's a failure of the way this country works that we're talking about this as a benefit for the students. It's a benefit for all of us. An educated, smart, with it, creative country is, I see no downside there.
There is no downside to it. Opens up opportunities. I mean, throughout my entire high school career, I heard people say that they couldn't go to college in the future because of student debt and how much money that sort of thing would cost. So there's really no downside to creating a well-educated and well-rounded state of America, and there's people out there who can have the opportunity to go to school and pursue the things that they want to pursue that they haven't just been able to, because money is such a driving force that many people will have to choose between sustaining themselves or going to school.
Right, and then are gaslit, right? Because if you do choose, but if you end up in working class work, you're told, oh, well, you don't get a living wage. How hard is it to flip burgers? Very hard. And if those people have ever worked behind the line at a restaurant, they would know that. It's difficult and you're treated like garbage. But, even if that weren't the case, I want to, we're coming out of this pandemic. We needed so much intellectual firepower, and then it kind of wasn't there because all these programs have been underfunded. And what are you studying?
I'm studying international affairs. I have a concentration in conflict resolution and then a minor in anthropology. And I mean, obviously that sort of thing is an extensive degree that can pretty much only be accomplished via the guise of going through school and going through the educational system. And the school that I go to, GW, or George Washington University, should I say, is incredibly expensive. It's one of the most expensive institutions you can really honestly go to on the East Coast, if not the entire nation. And yes, there's aid, yes, there's that, but we don't need that kind of stipulative, contingency plan. I think that people should be able to just maintain the education that they want and that they need, regardless of will I be able to get aid? Will I be able to go to this school if I really wanted to? Because so much, especially me coming fresh out of the college prep system, that entire senior year of high school, is just saying you're a college of your choice. It's honestly not your choice a lot of the time. It ends up being a matter of what you can afford, and I just think that sort of thing should not happen.
You're giving me horrible flashbacks to high school and just the anxiety tremors of AP classes and IB classes, and I didn't even think about that angle, but the gaslighting that occurs. We're telling teenagers all over this country, do whatever you want, study hard, and then you hit them with a just exorbitant exploitative bill and then gaslight them for that. Well, why did you pick that program? Because you've been telling us for 20 years that we can pick whatever we want.
Exactly. It's a very meticulous system, and to the day that this sort of thing ends and is alleviated would be so much, and it would benefit literally everybody, absolutely everybody.
Well, and so what do you say to people when you're telling them about your activism and they're, that benefits rich, privileged people? I know that's not true, but what do you tell people when that's there?
I always have to just put it into light about the opposite angle and the opposite sort of perspective where it doesn't benefit rich, privileged people. It's what the rich, privileged people have been telling the working class people in order to keep pushing this cycle that it does work like that, which is not true. I mean, you tell people one thing and then you give them these sort of red herring benefits that would blind them to what they really need. And then, again, another thing when it plays into the college angle is that if you keep pushing this narrative of how these sort of things only benefit, like, the upper rich class, everything like that, but then you don't give them the guides to be able to educate themselves further, i.e. making college so violently expensive, then you can keep pushing the cycle to uneducated folks about this sort of thing. And I watched it happen because I'm originally from the state of Georgia. I'm originally from the South, where you see that a lot. And you see a lot of uneducated people continue to be uneducated because the people up top keep pushing them down via not giving them enough money or resources to be able to educate themselves further.
And that's a really interesting point, right? Because if you make education an egregiously, I love that you said violently expensive, because it is violent, then working class people are going to further resent education in all its forms. And that's the cycle, right? Mm-hmm. Because you're right, rich people are going to go to college. They're going to find a way to afford it, even if it is $250,000 to become a lawyer or a doctor. It's working class people that aren't.
Exactly. And it's so easy to keep the cycle going, because who's going to break it if everybody and every single power is telling them that they don't need to break it?
So when you guys win, because you're going to win, what do you want next? What's next in the step for education justice?
There's a lot of steps to be had. I think that there should be more respect for a lot of the trade-based or like blue-collar, if you will, based work. Sort of, increase the minimum wage, and there's various steps to be taken where, as once we get the educational powers to be relieved in terms of like wage and everything there, I think we should totally get started on minimum wage and more respect for blue collar workers and trade workers, because honestly, a lot of the times I watched people go into trade, people go into those blue collar fields as a secondary option to traditional educational like academia and like secondary education. But it was so disrespected. And I really don't think that should be the case, honestly, because those workers are so essential. I mean, we watched them be essential throughout the entirety of the pandemic and everything like that. So I think that the next natural step is to start treating them with that respect. And if that respect involves raising their wage ever so rightfully, then I think that's what needs to be done.
Well, and as you're talking, it's hitting me. Yeah, it's all the same thing. There's a war on the American worker, and it's why it's so thrilling to see these Starbucks and Amazon workers unionizing. It's so thrilling the work you all are doing and calling upon the president to cancel these loans. But sorry, it's like, whoa. So have you been able to speak to staffers? How long have you been out here? I know this has been kind of a recurring thing.
I haven't gotten the opportunity quite yet to speak to any sort of staffers. I know that there's going to be important people coming out right now, like today, but I would love the opportunity to speak out there, especially from the perspective of, they always emphasize they want to hear young voters, young voices, and I think that what better time like the president to like talk to us about it and that kind of thing. I mean, as someone who just finished their first year of college, like that sort of thing is like incredibly important to hear from the perspective of somebody who logged into their student e-bill and saw how expensive those things are. And like, even if I'm not the one paying for it necessarily, like to all the students out there who are fortunate enough to have their parents or other parties or other guardians sustain them, I think that should be alleviated for those parties too. It's just important all around. And honestly, the debt will come back to the student one way or another.
So if I were Joe Biden, we look so similar, and I was telling you, listen, I can't do that. That's Congress's responsibility. What would you say to that?
I would say that you are the one, you're the one who needs to push Congress to do these sort of actions. I mean, obviously there's checks and balances at play, but it is incredibly important that the biggest higher up is in support of this sort of thing, all in full cancellation. And then Congress members can potentially start understanding this sort of thing. I mean, if the biggest power in the United States is going to be backing this movement, then all of the, I don't want to say lesser, but all of the subsidiary ones will start to fall into place.
Well, and personally, I agree with everything you just said. Democrats have to start flexing their power. We've had all branches for a while. It's time to start acting for the American people. Well, all right. What else would you want people to know? I'm excited for your degree. It sounds really exciting.
Thank you so much. I just want people to know that, like, there is hope out there, and it's not worth it to quite give up on our future, especially as young people who see that there's a brighter horizon out there. Like, I really think that the pessimistic approach is easy, but it's not efficient. And so if you start rallying, you start coming to these sort of things, and you start looking into Congress and important people that you're voting for and what they're standing for, then you will start to see change, basically. And rallying is one of the number one things that you can do, because, I mean, we've said it ourselves, like, this happening behind me, Joe Biden himself hears these sort of things, and he questions it, and it gets him thinking, and it gets other people working behind their thinking. And to start, honestly, what I can only call a ruckus will get attention. And I think that it's important to come out to these sort of things because of it.
Thank you so much for being here with us. And do you have a Twitter account that you want people?
Yeah, I do. What is my Twitter?
So rainy out today.
TUANAG16. So Tawana G16.
Thank you so much.
It's okay. Funky Town.
So we are out in front of the White House Executive Office building trying to speak to presidential staffers about the need for President Biden to use his executive office and cancel student loans. There has been a really dark narrative that this is a peripheral issue, and the reality is it affects millions of households, not just students themselves, but their parents. Plus loans are a serious issue for seniors right now, as higher education degrees, both college and grad school, are becoming the prerequisite for a basic living wage, which is why all these wonderful activists are out here.
Woo! Yeah.
How are you all feeling?
We're gonna win.
Yes.
I can feel that. Yeah, it definitely feels like we're going to win.
We're like the Postal Service. Snow, rain, sleet, we show up and we deliver, and we're going to deliver a win.
So am I allowed to ask you who's on their way, or is it a big secret?
No, so Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley, one of our cancellation heroes, is on the way.
I'm very excited.
I know. I can't wait to hear what she says. Gets us all pumped up. We keep fighting. And we've seen so many amazing staffers come by from the White House giving us the thumbs up, and that's what we do.
So
Surely.
our staffers, that's where all the big decisions.
Both directions.
Okay.
Hi. Is she on her way back in from Boston right now?
Hi, Congresswoman.
Hi. Yay! Hello. Hello. Wisdom, do you want to come up here with me? Hi. So I'm Melissa with We the 45 Million, and this is.
My name is Wisdom Cole. I'm the National Director of the NAACP Youth and College Division.
And we've been the team that's been out here once a month since January. We've been through the cold and the snow, a little bit of rain, because no matter the weather, we have to cancel the student loan debt. And let's give it up for the Too Much Talent band. And our volunteers who braved this weather. Alliance for Youth Action. And now we have one of our heroes in this fight. Because while what we want is an executive order, and there's only one person in the world that can do the executive order, he works in that building. His name is President Joe Biden. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for our heroes in the House and the Senate who are amplifying our message. Because as one of our heroes says, it's the people closest to the pain that understand this problem. And that is why we are so excited that Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley is here to speak to us. And then after she speaks, we're going to hear some amazing music. And I appreciate the rain going away for a little bit. Here you go.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Should I speak to them or you? Okay. Oh, right here? Okay. All right. Well, look, that's very kind of you to say, but I don't think there's anything heroic or heroic about me. Honestly, the people that are deserving of celebration are those who soldier on and persevere every day despite being burdened by this debt, a nearly $2 trillion crisis. And there have been so many mischaracterizations, myths, misinformation about who is burdened by this debt. You want to know who's burdened by this debt? Look around you. Everybody. I literally have 76-year-olds in my district, senior citizens on fixed incomes, still paying student debt. I have parents who are in their upper 60s who cannot retire because they took out Parent Plus loans and they are still paying on their kids' loans. We have a whole generation of people that cannot start a family, grow a family, start a business, purchase a home because of this debt. And of course, this $2 trillion crisis, the weight of it is disproportionately on black and brown borrowers. I'm going to speak for a moment about why this is a racial justice issue. As a black woman, my lived experience is consistent with what the data shows us. Now, we've been told we live in a meritocracy and that education is life's great equalizer. And the way to close the racial wealth gap was for more black Americans in marginalized communities to pursue higher education. We did that, but it has not narrowed the racial wealth gap. It has grown it. And 85% of black student borrowers had no choice but to take out loans to pursue higher education because of draconian policy violence like redlining, which denied our families' ability to build generational wealth. We're then 5 times more likely to default on those loans. And then peep this, 20 years after we take these loans out, black borrowers still owe 96% on their loan. White borrowers, 6%. And moreover, 40% of those that are burdened by debt didn't even get a degree. And we're not even talking about those who have been preyed upon by the deceptive business practices and predatory marketing of for-profit colleges and universities. Look, we know that there are broader reforms and work that needs to be done to make college more affordable. We know we need tuition-free college. We need to invest in our historically black colleges and universities. We need to expand Pell Grants. That's all true. But canceling student debt by executive action at $50,000 will close the racial wealth gap by 30% and immediately alleviate the hurt and this burden for millions of people. If we do it at $50,000, 48 million people will no longer be burdened by this debt. So this is a racial justice issue. It is an economic justice issue. It is a gender justice issue because 2/3 of this nearly $2 trillion debt are carried by women. And this is a smart strategy as we seek to recover from this pandemic-induced recession. This is a way to jumpstart the economy. So President Biden has the authority. We have been out here for months organizing, mobilizing, telling the stories to illustrate this hurt, how far and how deep it goes. And we were successful 3 times, and we thank the administration for heeding our calls and putting a pause on student loan payments during this pandemic. And that has been game-changing. People have been able to use that money to remain safely housed, to purchase essential goods. Some people have even become first-time homeowners, and that's just been in 2 years. So imagine how transformational, how meaningful, how impactful if we see student debt cancellation by executive action at $50,000. I want to thank this entire movement. We are closer than ever before to getting this done. I am in ongoing communication with the White House. In fact, just recently was a part of an effort with the Congressional Black Caucus and a meeting, a negotiation with the White House. And so we are closer than ever before to getting this done. The president was given the authority through the Higher Education Act. Now, let me say this. I know none of you on here are saying, just write the bill. Why executive action? Guess what? We've written bills. But you see the stagnation currently, what is happening as we continue to be met with Senate Republican obstruction on issues of consequence to everyone who calls this country home. This is something that the president can do unilaterally, without reconciliation, without a single vote from Congress. And so he has the power, with the stroke of a pen, to lighten the load of the American people. And so we're going to stay out here and keep organizing, keep mobilizing, keep amplifying and telling your stories, listening to those who have been closest to the pain, because you deserve to be closest to the power, driving and informing the policymaking. And we just want you to know that we see you. And the last thing that I want to say is someone who did default on my loan, and it took me a very long time to pay it back. There is so much shame that goes along with the burden of this debt. It's not only about the ways in which we're being denied economic freedom because we're saddled by this, but people are carrying so much shame that they have debt. This isn't a character flaw. We know you're working multiple jobs and you still can't get ahead. And you're barely touching even the interest on these loans. And if you do end up paying them off, which, by the way, 40% of people will never pay these loans back. So this does not contribute to the deficit in any way. If you do end up paying your loans off, you end up paying much more than you originally even borrowed. So this is a nearly $2 trillion crisis. The burden is heavy. We can alleviate it, and we just have to keep the pressure up, because what I know is that government doesn't always lead, but it does respond. And in this moment, we are going to keep pushing until we get a response that is responsive to the calls and the needs of the diverse coalition, multiracial, multi-generational coalition of voters, issues-based activists who were carrying signs saying cancel student debt, who delivered this Democratic majority. This is not charity we're asking for. This is restitution. We're saying keep your word. Keep your word. Cancel this debt. Just do it. You can do it by executive action, stroke of a pen. And in the meantime, we ain't gonna let nobody turn us around. We're gonna stay out here. I'm happy to be out here with my activist family. Shout out to the musicians, because there's never a revolution without artists. So shout out to the musicians and the artists. And thank all of you for being a part of this movement. But let's keep it up. We're closer than ever before. They are listening. And that has everything to do with your vigilance and your tenacity. So let's just stay at it. Thank you. Okay. Wish I could.
So we just heard from Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley in front of the executive office buildings, in front of the White House, as we continue to try to call upon President Joe Biden to keep his promise to the American public and cancel student debt. Hello.
Hey, how's it going? Pretty good. My name is Wisdom Cole, and I serve as the National Director for the NAACP Youth and College Division. And these loans are way too high. President Biden, you need to cut it.
And why do you think there's so much nonsense around who this would actually help? Like, why do you think people are missing that, like, this is for working class people and for communities of color?
You know, what is very important to understand in the fight to cancel student debt is the difference in the debt-to-income ratio. For black communities, we are inheriting debt. We are being affected by debt each day. When we think about income across this nation is not the same. And so we have to think about the opportunity for black communities to generate wealth. Did you know that for black borrowers on average, we have $53,000 in student debt? That student debt keeps us from becoming homeowners, from becoming business owners, from having discretionary wealth, right? This is an opportunity for President Biden to right the wrongs, right? To reduce the racial wealth gap and to present an opportunity for black America to advance, right? This is the policy change that will allow us to get through the midterms. You made promises to our community. It's time to deliver.
Absolutely. How can people get involved and help?
It's very important for folks to share their story. Folks need to understand the impact that student debt has on our lives. And I love Afrofuturism, so we also have to dream about a world without student debt and where we could go with student debt being canceled. And so I really invite you to join us in our campaign. go to our website at naacp.org. 50K and beyond to learn about our campaign to make sure that we cancel a minimum, I say again, a minimum of 50,000 or more. Because the more that we cancel student debt, the better. More cancellation, the more progress.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. Okay. Thank you so much for being here with these incredible, passionate activists and Congresswoman Presley to cancel student debt. It's time for President Biden to do the right thing, invest in the American public, and free people from this incredibly violent form of impoverishment and middle-class tax to just do what we want to do, which is to be an educated workforce. And now it stops raining, of course.